Hey everyone, so I hope you guys are having a wonderful time and I wish you all a very happy new year, and I hope that this year is as wonderful for everyone as it should be. So basically I haven't been filming any videos in the last month because I was kind of traveling, and as you can see the background is very different. I am not in my home right now. I will be going back to my home tomorrow. So I got some books actually while I was traveling, and I wanted to show you guys what books I got. And basically I think this mini book haul would be a nice video to kickstart 2025, because these are all books that I do want to cover this year. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get just started. So there are fiction books as well as non-fiction books, so yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. So the first book here is Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. I have read Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I do have Mrs. Dalloway by her as well, but I haven't really gotten around to reading Mrs. Dalloway. And I love Orlando. I absolutely fell in love with Orlando, with Virginia Woolf when I read Orlando, and that's why I was like, okay, so I need to get this, because as far as I've heard, To the Lighthouse is literally one of her most, if not the most famous novel of all times, and this is kind of considered her magnum opus, I think. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this book. I actually don't know much about the story, and I really like going into fiction books kind of blind, because that really, encapsulates the entire experience that the author intended for the readers to, experience, basically go through. And it's a wonderful feeling altogether, when you don't know how things are going to turn out, or what characters are going to surprise you or are going to be there. So yeah, however, I did read the blurb at the back, which intrigued me obviously, and I just couldn't be more excited to get to reading this book. I'll read you the blurb at the back. Also, that's pretty much the same for all the books that's there on this list. I'm going to go into these books like semi-blind, because it's just the blurb at the back that I know. So I really don't know anything else about these books except for the fact that, yeah, the authors are famous, and I've heard a lot of people talk about these books, but in very generic terms, that they really loved it. And I've seen some good reviews, and I've heard a lot of people talk about these books in the book community, so that's about it, but nothing much about the content, to be more specific. So yeah, so the blurb says, To the Lighthouse is at once a vivid impressionist depiction of a family holiday, and a meditation on a marriage, on parenthood and childhood, and on grief, tyranny and bitterness. Its use of stream of consciousness, reminiscence and shifting perspectives gives the novel an intimate poetic essence, and at the time of publication in 1927, it represented an utter rejection of Victorian and Edwardian literary values. Virginia Woolf saw the novel as an elegy to her own parents, and in a diary she wrote, "I used to think of him, father in brackets, and mother daily, but writing The Lighthouse laid them in my mind." So, can't wait to read To the Lighthouse. I've heard that even though this novel looks pretty small, it's not that easy to read. I mean, you should really take your time to absorb everything that's been told. And it's written, like it said here, by using the literary technique of stream of consciousness, right? And I know that Mrs. Dalloway is entirely that. So I haven't really read any fiction books which are based off of, narrating through the perspective of stream of consciousness. So this will be an interesting delve into that realm. So yeah. The next book is Chinua Achebe's Achebe or Achebe. Let me know in the comments if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Chinua Achebe, No Longer at Ease. After reading the blurb at the back, I really cannot wait to read this novel. So I'll read you the blurb as well. Okonkwo. Okay, I am butchering the name. Sorry about that. Obi Okonkwo is an idealistic young man who thanks to the privileges of an education in Britain, has now returned to Nigeria for a job in the civil service. However, in his new role, he finds that the way of government seems to be backhanders and corruption. Obi manages to resist the bribes that are offered to him, but when he falls in love with an unsuitable girl to the disapproval of his parents, he sinks further into emotional and financial turmoil. The lure of easy money becomes harder to refuse, and Obi becomes caught in a trap he cannot escape. Showing a man lost in cultural limbo and a Nigeria entering a new age of disillusionment, No Longer at Ease concludes Achebe's remarkable trilogy, charting 3 generations of an African community and the impact of colonialism, the first 2 volumes of which are Things Fall Apart and Arrow of God. I really wanted to get Things Fall Apart, but the bookstore where I really got this from, I wasn't actually able to find any of the other 2 by him, so that was kind of weird because I thought that if they're keeping No Longer at Ease, they should keep Things Fall Apart and Arrow of God as well, but I think they just got sold out. So yeah, because Things Fall Apart is, I think, one of his most famous works. So yeah, that's No Longer at Ease. The next book, I'm sure a lot of you have at least heard about if you're a regular reader. And as somebody who genuinely loves Franz Kafka and is still obsessed with his works and will forever be obsessed with his works, I really had to get this. Franz Kafka's Letters to Milena. I mean, I read a little bit of it, in the beginning, like a couple of letters. I read the first couple of letters. And honestly, I must say that this feels very intimate, but it's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. And you get to actually know about Franz Kafka a bit more as a person, as an individual. So it's interesting. They had like a relationship for 2 years, and they used to share with each other a lot of things. There were a lot of exchange of letters, and these are from Kafka's perspective, and basically these are Kafka's letters. But for some reason, it's written here in the beginning that Milena's letters or Milena's responses somehow just got lost, and they were not no one was able to recover them, so that's kind of strange if you ask me. But yeah, I'll read you the blurb. Franz Kafka's letters to his one-time muse, Milena Jasenska, an intimate window into the desires and hopes of the 20th century's most prophetic and important writer. Kafka first met Milena Jasenska in 1920 when she was translating his early short prose into Czech, and their relationship quickly developed into a deep attachment. Such was his feeling for Milena that Kafka showed her his diaries, and in doing so, laid bare his heart and his conscience. While at times Milena's genius for living gave Kafka a new sense of vitality, it ultimately exhausted him, and their relationship was to last little over 2 years. In 1924, Kafka died in a sanatorium near Vienna, while Milena died in 1944 at the hands of the Nazis, leaving these letters as a moving record of their relationship. So letters from Kafka were recovered from Milena, but apparently the responses from Milena's side weren't, or the response letters weren't recovered, which, like I said, it's a little strange. But I would have loved to see how, letters from what the response letters were like. I would like to I would have liked to kind of explore her perspectives or her responses as well. But it said in the beginning that since those letters weren't available, when you read this collection, some of the letters, it's difficult to understand what the context is because you're just, hearing Kafka's perspective, so it can get a little bit confusing. But it gives a nice insight into, their relationship and their interactions. Also, a lot of, Kafka's personal interpretations about love, life, etc. So that's Franz Kafka, Letters to Milena. I'm really excited to read this book, and I like these kinds of books because you don't really have to read them in one go. You can just pick up a random letter and read it, and yeah, it'll make you feel something. So yeah, I really love this edition as well, vintage edition. So that's Letters to Milena. The next book is Kang, right? I always butcher names. I'm really sorry if I'm butchering the name, but I'm pretty sure it's Kang, and this is Greek lessons by her. So I was really looking for The Vegetarian in the bookshop, but I again could not find The Vegetarian. Maybe it got sold out because it's her most famous novel. She got the Nobel Prize last year, and I really needed to check her out because A, she won the Nobel Prize, and B, a lot of people have been talking about her works, and I really did not read any of her books. I couldn't find time, or just, the thing is, as a reader, you have so many books on your TBR, and you're always adding new books, but the problem is you never get around to reading them. You always have so many different books to explore, and some authors, some books are bound to, get slipped a little bit from here and there, but I really needed to get around to reading Hong Kong. So yeah, I found this book there, and I was like, okay, I'm getting one by her here, so I need to just get it. And I think maybe, yeah, I can just get The Vegetarian from Amazon or something. Anyways, so and the blurb at the back really interested me because, see, I really love reading fiction or any sort of novels that has to do with human connection, relations, and exploring the fragility of human emotions and behavior through different interactions, through different conversations and experiences that you have with other people, other encounters in your life. And that's actually something that I really look for in good human novels, and I think this is one of those. And I think Han Kang is known for kind of, encapsulating beautifully human emotions, human interactions, and connections. So I definitely needed to check her work out. So I'll read you the blurb at the back. From one of the finest writers on the international scene today comes this love letter to human intimacy and connection. The intertwined stories of two fugitive souls, one a woman who has lost the ability to speak, and the other her Greek teacher, a man on the edge of losing his sight. As the lonely teacher finds himself drawn to the silent woman, we discover a deeper pain that binds them, rooted in their families, their histories, their pasts. And as the novel unfolds, their stories begin to touch and their voices to intersect with startling beauty as they move from darkness to light and from silence to expression before merging in a profound sense of unity. So that's Han Kang's Greek lessons. The next book is this beautiful edition of 105 Stories and Fables that illuminate, delight, and inform by Rumi. So if you don't know, Rumi was a spectacular poet, and I do have his poetry collection, but this is a collection of his short stories and fables which are equally amazing. The morals of the stories, they're very simple, but at the same time they're so entertaining to read. They're short. You can just pick a random fable or a random story at any point of the day and you can just read them. You don't have to read this book in one go, and it's a wonderful collection. Any people of any age can read this book. So yeah, the Book of Rumi it's called, and it's translated by Maryam Mafi, and it's a wonderful collection. I read the first story and I absolutely loved that first couple of stories actually. And they, like I said, the stories are very simple, but they do give you very intimate and impactful morals about life and treating others with kindness, love, and compassion. Just, various important value systems and principles which we sometimes lose hold of or lose track of in our lives. And, Rumi has always reminded people of that. All the great poets and authors do that, but I really love Rumi. I love his poetry, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this collection as well. I think, so basically, at the back, there's an excerpt actually from a short story from this book. I can read you that, so you'll get a bit of an idea what these kinds of fables or stories are like. The Zoroastrian and the Muslim. Two men had been friends since childhood. One was a Muslim and the other a Zoroastrian. One day, as they were drinking coffee, the Muslim turned to his friend and suggested, "My friend, how about you finally becoming a good Muslim? If God wills it, I will convert," said the Zoroastrian cunningly. "Allah wants you to turn to Him so that He can save you from hell, but it's your menacing ego that pulls you back to a disbelief." "I know you as a fair man, my friend," replied the Zoroastrian gravely. "When that which you call the ego has conquered and continues to rule me, I have no choice but to obey it, for it is far more powerful than me. I would never dare think that anything in the world can be done without the will of God. Therefore, I conclude that if He truly wanted me not to be a Zoroastrian, He wouldn't have made me one. If your Allah holds absolute supremacy and dominates all realms, but still can't pull me toward Him, then His will does not exceed all. So what's the use of me converting? He has bestowed free will on us, and we are responsible for putting it to good use, which I hope I'm doing." Having spoken his mind, the Zoroastrian continued to sit beside the Muslim, but quietly sipping their coffee in peace. Like I said, these are small stories, but extremely powerful. This fresh prose translation of 105 short teaching stories by Rumi, which form the core of the 6-volume Masnavi, explores the hidden spiritual aspects of everyday experience. Rumi transforms the seemingly mundane events of daily life into profound Sufi teaching moments. These prose gems open the portal to the world of the ancient mystic. Rumi's voice alternates between playful and authoritative, whether he's telling stories of ordinary lives or inviting the discerning reader to high levels of introspection and attainment of transcendent values. Mafi's translations delicately reflect the nuances of Rumi's poetry, while retaining the positive tone of all of Rumi's writings, as well as the sense of suspense and drama that mark the essence of the Masnavi. So that's the Book of Rumi, and I love the cover. It's such a wonderful edition. I absolutely adore this. So the last two books are basically non-fiction, and I'll go through them fast because there's really not much to talk about these books unless you have read them. Because if you want to, there's obviously a lot to talk about, but that can be a completely different video after I have read this book, rather. So yeah, one is How Big Tech Barons Smash Innovation and How to Strike Back by Ariel, Ezrachi, and Maurice Stucke. So currently I'm doing a little bit of research on digital market competition. I'm a law student and I'm looking at it from a legal perspective, and this book delves into the legal perspective of digital competition and, the role that big tech barons play in manipulating digital market competition and how they disrupt innovation, etc. There's certain, they give you technical knowledge here in this book. It's not entirely legal, but they help you to gain a legal perspective on how this particular spectrum spans out, or it has spanned out. So I'll read you what it's about. Two market experts expose the drivers and inhibitors to innovation in the digital economy and explain how large tech companies can stifle disruption. Silicon Valley's genius, combined with limited corporate regulation, promised a new age of technological innovation in which entrepreneurs would create companies that would fuel unprecedented job growth. Yet disruptive innovation has stagnated even as the five leading tech giants, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, and Google, which account for approximately 25% of the S&P 500's market capitalization, are expanding to unimaginable scale and power. In How Big Tech Barons Smash Innovation and How to Strike Back, Ariel, Ezrachi, and Maurice Stucke explain why this is happening and what we can do to reverse this. They discuss the rise of tech barons, how they control digital economic systems, or digital ecosystems, and the surprising truth about the nature and level of innovation they foster. The sophisticated strategies that the tech barons use to identify and kill disruptive innovation and those who promote it, the resulting increase in toxic innovations that extract or destroy value, and how we get less innovation that actually benefits us and more innovation that allows the tech barons to further extort and manipulate us. The ripple effects of this toxic innovation, which risk tearing apart our society and undermining of democracy, and a policy framework to ensure contestable markets that deliver the innovation we crave. This book is an illuminating expose that vividly illustrates how the tech barons marginalize the true innovators and reveals the toll these strategies take on our well-being and democracy. So, it's very interesting for me, but I can see why it might not be for a lot of people. But if you're interested in digital economy, learning more about how big tech companies control market systems, this is a great book. The last book that I have on this list is Blockchain Evolution, How the Technology Behind Bitcoin and Other Cryptocurrencies is Changing the World by Don Tapscott and Alice Tapscott. I think they're father and son. And this is a great book for you to just kind of get an idea of how blockchain technology has evolved over the years. I mean, it was written a while ago, so there has been a lot of developments since then. But overall, it gives you a nice account of, how they developed and how they kind of, gradually took over the market, took over the internet, and led to a lot of big data revolutions. So it's interesting if you are somebody who's interested in learning more about blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, how they work and how they came about. The background and how they developed over the years. So, but I would, however, recommend that when you read this book, do read it while alongside also keeping yourself updated about the whole scenario in the current year. So that will give you a holistic understanding of how blockchain revolution has, panned across the global market. So I'll read you the blurb at the back. Blockchain technology will change the world. In fact, it already has. Blockchain is a technology driving the future of the economy. It's best known for powering Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but it has the potential to transform every industry it touches. It allows virtually anything we value, from stocks, music, and intellectual property, to health records and even our identities, to be stored in a secure and anonymous system that no one person or company owns. From birth and death certificates to insurance claims, land titles, and even votes, data will never be managed in the same way again. So there is really not much to talk about this. It's like I have to read it to see what these two authors are actually saying, their perspective and the facts that they're sharing. And I can only actually comment on the book after that. However, I'm really interested to get into this because even if it's not exactly outdated knowledge, I really can't say that. It's still relevant today. However, I need to, like I said, I will read it by simultaneously also reading the current equivalent of all the knowledge that has been shared in here, about certain companies and how they were handling blockchain a few years ago. So yeah, that's Blockchain Revolution. So that's really the entire collection of books that I got for myself recently, and I plan to cover all of these books this year. I plan to cover more books as well, but we'll see. These definitely are on the list, and I will upload more videos in the upcoming days about books that I have read, reviews, and books which I'm going to read. So yeah, if you like this video, give this a thumbs up and subscribe to see more such content in the future. And if you want me to make any specific kinds of videos, or maybe share my reviews regarding any particular books that I have talked about in this video, do let me know in the comments, and I will do that in one of the upcoming videos. So I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I once again wish you a wonderful new year ahead. I hope you have a great time, and ciao until next time.